Kelly Oubre Jr. Sixers about to sign Kelly Oubre Jr. We'll talk about that more and next on Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On 76er your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. What's up, Mitch? How you been, bro?
I'm good, Keith. Good morning to you, man. I'm well. How you doing today, man?
Oh, I'm good. I can't complain. Hey, for y'all who don't know, and I'm pretty sure most of y'all do know, this is my man, John Mitchell, longtime NBA writer, extraordinaire, has a great opinion, knowledgeable of everything, basketball and beyond. Mr. HBCU too, Howard. I'm giving the whole thing, right? But yeah, I heard they used to lose. Did y'all used to lose to Hampton?
All the time.
I was just joking.
All the time.
I was just joking. But anyway, so we got a lot to talk about, Mitch. So the Sixers, it was confirmed last night that the Sixers are going or expected to sign Kelly Oubre Jr., a big signing for the Sixers this summer, big one. It's weird though because he's a guy that averaged 20.3 points last season, a guy who I saw light up the Sixers one game, and they're getting him on the minimum, and one of those things, and it's probably they're going to take a look at him, do whatever. So I want to talk to you. The first two segments is going to be Kelly. Okay. So the first two, they're probably going to, I wanted to say, we'll break it down in the first segment, let's talk about this. But the second segment is kind of similar because what does this mean for the Sixers? So I honestly think we're going to lump both of these things in for these first two segments. And then I don't want to bury the lead, but this is about Kelly. But what we got to do is in the third segment, I want to talk about James Harden. How long do you think this thing is going to last? Because, a lot of they're getting Kelly Oubre, and Kelly Oubre could have a role is because of the uncertainty with James, right? So, Mitch, let's start it off. Give me your opinions of this Kelly Oubre acquisition.
Keith, I like it. I was surprised that he was even out there and available at this point in the offseason. He's a guy. I know he had that hand injury last year, but when he came back, he lit it up. He's a guy who can score the basketball. He's had some. When he gets streaky, he's very good from the 3-point line when he's streaking. And I think he's a great addition to the 76ers. I think he brings to them a lot of what they don't have. He brings them length. He brings them athleticism. If you look at it, I've been kind of beating this drum for a minute that, he's kind of a Nick Nurse type of guy. Nick Nurse looks at that roster and, let's be quite honest, you don't see a very, very athletic. And that's been something that's been plaguing the 76 for quite some time. The lack of athleticism. Too many times you see them and guys are standing around. Somebody, you need somebody to create your own shot, get a bucket. And if too often it's Maxey, it's Joel, it's Joel drifting away from the basket, putting the ball on the floor, getting the ball stripped. And not to take away from him because yes, we saw an MVP performance out of him last year. But I think adding Kelly Oubre Jr. is the best news coming out of this organization all summer. I really do.
Yeah, but the one thing we got to understand is getting the ball stripped and all this stuff, they got to believe in Kelly Oubre when he's in there too now. Because there's been times before where they got certain guys that you felt like that, this guy is going to going to help them. And then the guy, you can see him pouting or not, getting a little upset because he's in the corner and the ball doesn't come. So, down that they got him, it has to be one of those things where, you got to utilize them. Now, maybe both of them went to Kansas.
Yeah.
Maybe they might be yelling rock chop Jayhawk and
Whatever.
and plays and Joel will find them. But yeah, you do. I mean, he is a good acquisition. Now the thing about it, he is 6'7", but he's also, to me, when I look at those guys that Nick Nurse got in Toronto, besides like a Kawhi Leonard, most of those guys were 4-3s.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? This guy is a 3-2.
Yeah.
So he brings a little bit more versatility to me than some of the guys that Nick Nurse had who turned out to be these, multi-positional guys. You know what I mean? They were like long. So I feel like in a way he can become an upgrade. I feel like Kelly Oubre is a type of guy that, you say to yourself, like, what was the problem? Because in free agency, he was a guy that a lot of teams or a lot of fans of teams is like, if we can get Kelly, because when you look at it, man, like Kelly brings a lot. Like we talked about, he's 6'7", 203 pounds. He averaged a career high 20.3 points last season with the Hornets, right? The eighth year guard, or he's going into his 9th season, could be a good addition for a team in need of sharpshooting, a reserve perimeter player, after parting ways with Jalen McDaniels, Shake Milton, and Georges Niang, right? Now, we know George was like more of a 4, but he was 6'7", right? Oubre
and didn't play a lick of defense.
Couldn't play a lick of defense. But here's the stat, though. Oubre had 10 games with at least 4 3-pointers last season.
That's money.
Yep. He had a season high 7 while scoring 29 points against the Miami Heat on November the 10th. Right? So that's another one. Then he had like 5 3-pointers 8 days later in a game where he scored a season high 34, right? Like 8 days later. So the thing about Oubre is, first round pick, the Atlanta Hawks selected him 15th overall in the 2015 draft. He was immediately traded to the Washington Wizards. And the 27-year-old also has stops with the Phoenix Suns and the Golden State Warriors, right? So
he's well traveled. He's well
traveled. Exactly, he's well traveled. But he's a guy that I feel like can be a good addition. I mean, when we look at him, you say to yourself, like, this is a guy that you can say, look, Mitch, he can. I mean, it's up to them. Right now, I'm saying a backup. Right now, like today, I'm saying a backup. But he's a guy who can thrive as a starting small forward.
Absolutely.
That will enable you to have Tobias Harris at the 4, and that will bring some versatility to you. You know what I mean? I think he gives them a lot of options.
He does. He's one of those players who, he gives them those mix and match options. If you bring him off the bench, you have a guy who's explosive. If you start him, you're off. Your starting 5 is immediately more of a threat offensively. So it gives them options. I like this for the 76ers in every way. I've been critical of a lot of what they have done this summer, and deservedly so. But, the fact that he was out there, the fact that he was still out there and available, people will question and say, well, why was this guy who averaged 20 points per game available? I don't think the 76ers, are in position to really ask those questions right now. The house is on fire in too many areas. They've got, Daryl Morey, kudos to him. He went out there and said, he did what he's supposed to do. I'm critical of Daryl because he's never, I don't think he is quite the GM that people give him credit for. But what he will do is he will gamble. He doesn't sit still when something needs to be done. So I think I'm for it, man. And the one thing I like about it, I always like sit players when they're playing for money, when they're playing for that next deal. He's on a 1-year deal, or he'll be on a 1-year deal. He wants to get paid. He's 27 years old. He looks around this league. He says, hey, I can do what this league wants. They want scores. They want length. They want some athleticism. He's got a chance to shine, whether he comes off the bench or whether he starts. It's a good fit for him, and it's a guy who comes in, knowing that this is an opportunity, or at least you think he does. I mean, you'll find that out when you get a chance to really vibe with him and, when he shows up at camp. But for now, that's how you envision it,
Yeah, I'm with you. We'll talk more about that right after this little commercial break. Snap into the NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedoff and kick off the NBA season. I keep saying NBA, man. The NFL season.
That's
FanDuel,
it's in your blood.
Official sports partner of the NFL, but I keep trying to make it about the NBA. Why? Because the NBA season is starting in 2 weeks, but preseason is starting in 2 weeks. But look, you're right, it's in the blood. But look, Mitch, here's the deal, bro. The thing about the Kelly Oubre signing, the one thing is, we talked about the positives, and I think there's a lot of positives, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that the biggest positive for the 76ers, if you're thinking about it, is the fact, and is unfortunate for Kelly, is that the 76ers got him on a veteran minimum, right? Mm-hmm. They'll get him on there. So I believe for a guy, an 8th-year player, the veteran minimum is around 2.89, around that time, around that. Mm-hmm. But only $2 million is going to count on the books, right? So as you look at that, that's really good for the Sixers. That's a win-win for the Sixers because, the big concern for me is a guy like Kelly Oubre, who is coming off a career season, mm-hmm. and you have to wait until this time of the year to get signed. Yeah, that's a concern, right? I mean, that's a red flag. Yeah. But for the Sixers, it's great because they didn't have to pay a lot for him. Right. Right. They didn't have to pay a lot. So if it doesn't work out, they're like, oh, well, it was a 1-year deal. It didn't work out. We can waive them. You know what? We're good. We're good. Yeah. Because the thing is, if there was a knock on Kelly, it's kind of like, a good player. Mm-hmm. But how does he deal with if he's not in the mix? If he's not the guy? Like, is he going to be that dude? Now, the one thing when you look at it last year, Charlotte had disciplinary problems, right? Mm-hmm. They also had injuries, which afforded him an opportunity to be that guy. You know what I mean? Right. So the question is, like, how is that going to pan out? Like, how are you going to deal with it? Because it could be times where he may be open. Joel may be double teamed. Joel, like we talked about in the first one, may turn around, hit a 3. You know what I mean? Maxey's going to be the guy. And he's not. The one thing that we do know is when you look at guys here and you talk about last season stats, it ain't typically your numbers are going to go down when you come here. So how is he going to be able to adjust? That's my only concern. But I like the pickup. Mm-hmm. I think it's a smart pickup. The Sixers got him for value, right? Cheap value. Right. But that's my concern. That's the only issue I had.
Yeah, and it's a viable issue, viable concern. Let's be honest, Keith, as the beat writer, you have to ask that question. Mm-hmm. I know fans of the team are like, hey, Kelly Oubre, 20 points per game, but you have to be a little more analytic and pulling this thing apart. With that being your biggest concern, and it's a concern of mine because it's a league where the guys. Again, I always say the NBA is has the most temperamental players of any of the four major leagues on the North American continent. And here's a guy who will be playing. He'll be playing for his money, and he would love to come here and score 20 points per game. But I mean, Charlotte was a dumpster fire. It's headed in the right direction, I think. But he took advantage of the opportunities. The opportunities will be minimized here in Philadelphia for him, and people will be watching. Does he pout? Does he go in the corner? Is he coming off the floor and running to the end of the bench? People will be paying attention to all of that. But overall, if I'm 90-10. I'm closer to 95-5 that this is a good deal for the 76ers.
Yeah, it is. And like it is a really good deal for the Sixers. Yeah. I mean, especially because of the money, because of that, and because of that is a great deal for the Sixers.
Right.
It's one of those things now, again, it's also one of those things where you look at it and you say to yourself, like, does he make them better? And the guy that we're going to talk, and I believe he does. He makes them better because when you look at it, the fans, you go to social media, since the announcement that they are going to sign him or expected to sign him, a lot's been like, about time we got someone.
Yeah.
About time we got someone who can help this team right now. And I in a way, I think it's a little bit unfortunate. I shouldn't say unfortunate. That's not the word I want. I feel like it's a little bit unfair because I do think that Mo Bamba, if he comes to play, he can be good. But you got to realize the Sixers got what they could get, the best that they could get, in my opinion, for the money they were willing to spend. Right? They got minimum salary dudes, but when you look at Kelly Oubre and you say, here's a guy that's worth way more than that.
Right.
So that's a good pickup. But yeah, right. I do think he makes them better. I think he makes them deeper. I feel like you said the versatility that they have. He can when he gets going, he can carry them a little bit. Like in the game, I'm not saying on the season. I'm talking about like if he's hot one game and you keep going to him, he can bring the excitement, right? He keeps you honest.
Yep.
So I like that. I think that he does make them a better team.
And I think he can make Nick Nurse a better coach. I do. I think he's a guy who you can, get him in that second unit sometimes and be that fire starter on the second unit. Keep him on the floor for extended minutes with the second unit. And I'm sure he'll be willing to do that.
Yeah.
I think it's a win-win for the Sixers. For an organization to have few wins, I think this is a good win this summer.
Yeah, I agree with you. But look, when we get back from this commercial break, we're going to talk about James Harden. But right now, Mitch, I want to talk to you about Jace Medical, right? Jace Medical is one of these things. I don't have it in front of me, but I got this case, right? My Jace case. And I got it yesterday. I went through it. And the thing about it, Mitch, it provides you with 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use.
Wow.
Right? But see, dude, all it takes to get a Jace case is to fill out a simple online form. And in some cases, jump on a quick call with one of our board certified physicians. Getting ongoing care for our physicians on any treatment related questions. Doctor created, doctor recommended. I'm telling you, man, like I was looking through this stuff and I'm like, man, they gave me this, that. Like it's real legit, right? So the thing about this, y'all, you don't want to be caught unprepared. That's why it's always important to have that thing, because everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. Jace handles everything from online evaluations to licensed pharmacy medication delivered and ongoing consultant and care, right? So what you do is, I'm telling you, just go there, you do what you have to do. I'm telling you, call these people and you will get what you need. You save more than $360 by getting these life-saving antibiotics with Jace Medical plus an additional $20 off by using the promo code Locked On at checkout at jacemedical.com. That's Jace, Jase, medical.com. I'm telling you, do it today, people. Definitely do it today.
You never know when you might need it.
Bruh, I'm telling you, you never know. Well, Mitch, this whole Harden situation, right? You look at James, and James' situation is different. James has made in his 14 seasons, he's made an estimated $301.6 million in just basketball alone in his 14 seasons, right? Here's a guy that if he wanted to be, and I'm not going to say petty, but if he wanted to be one of those guys like, look, man, I don't have time for this anymore. Y'all think you guys going to try to box me in or what have you. I'm done.
Yeah.
He could retire tomorrow and be one of the wealthiest basketball players ever, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
he's firmly established in America's top 1%. And when you look at James Harden, when we see James Harden, we see his behavior, and I don't know him personally, and I'm not attacking his character at all, but you can see him as a type of brother who might say, you know what, I don't want to be in Philadelphia. Peace. I'm out. I don't want anything to do with the cheesesteaks. I don't need a roast pork sandwich again. I can find a club somewhere else. Why bother? I mean, he has made screw you money. And and that's why I think he could be problematic, because I kind of get the sense. I've never gotten the sense from James that he winning at all costs is a top priority for him. I've never gotten the sense. Now, I could be wrong, and I just base it on what I see. Sometimes, to his credit, the game sometimes it looks like it comes during the course of his career. The games come very easily to him. But now he's, I see a guy who attacks the basket and he's looking for the foul now more often. He used to look for the bucket and an and one, but now, some of these drives to the hoop and he's looking to get fouled and hoping that the rest will bail him out. And he's obviously not dedicated or committed to this franchise now. He said that Daryl Morey is his sworn enemy for all intents and purposes. And for that reason alone, if he were, I think he's going to make it ugly for the Sixers. I think you're going to have, I feel for you, Keith, because we often talk about this, about some of the catastrophic things that happen in Philadelphia. And I think that you will be in for a very interesting training camp again, my friend.
Yeah, I think it. I think it definitely is. I mean, the over under though. The main question is, do you think that he's going to be there for training camp?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you?
I'm not certain. I'm 50-50 with that. I don't know if. Yeah, I don't know. If he were there, I mean, he the leverage that he has is to show up, and if you don't get traded early on, get traded at the trade deadline. I mean, just ball out. Just ball out. And who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he could be, he could be a lion in winter and say, if I do ball out, we've just added this new piece. Tyrese Maxey's a rising star. I'm playing alongside an MVP. I'd like for my legacy, maybe this will hit him at a late stage of his career to be potentially be an NBA champion. Because right now the roster, I was critical of the roster. If he comes back and leads the league in assists again next year, this season, with the addition of Kelly Oubre and things fall into place, and Nick Nurse has a motivated team with, they're aging in some spots. But yeah, it's again, will he come back? I don't know. That is the $1 million. Will he be there? That's the $1 million question.
Yeah, I agree. But my thing is, I wonder if like if he comes back and if he's like, you know what, I don't have a beef with Nick Nurse. I don't have a beef with my teammates, as he said, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has gone out and said that. If he's like a great teammate and he doesn't talk about all this stuff, then I think it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if he comes back and he's a distraction, though, they
Mm-hmm.
might be better off with him just sitting home
No, you're
because
right.
then that can because it's going to disrupt everything. I believe. I do.
Yeah,
I believe.
yeah, yeah,
Um, so you ask yourself, like, if you're the Sixers, do you want him to show up? Like, what
yeah.
I mean? Like, honestly, if do you? I mean, of course they're gonna say, yeah, but deep down inside, you only want him to show up if he's gonna be a model citizen, so to
Right.
speak. But again, like this guy has options. He's different from the average player
Mm-hmm.
saying trade me and they don't have any outside ventures, they don't have any other things. He could it gets to a point, and I talked about this before, and I feel sorry if I keep bringing it up over and over again, but he's a guy that, he's a not only a guy that has a lot of money, he's a mega star. He's
Yeah,
one of these guys in the NBA who basically are used to getting whatever they want.
right,
And sometimes
right,
when you say you can't have that, it doesn't go over well.
right,
And
right.
the difference is some of them have to hit that humble pie. Like on your job,
Yeah,
sometimes people get upset on their job, but you look at, I got a mortgage to pay, I got
yeah,
this, that. He's like you said, he's a 1%er. He could
yeah.
just say, I'm out.
I'm out. Yeah,
What
yeah.
you going to do?
I mean, he's sitting on a $300 million war chest, man. You
Exactly.
know,
And we ain't even talking about the money he's getting from that wine. Look, see,
right?
in China, that wine sold out.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
you know,
I mean, that wine is all over China, bro.
yeah,
Yeah,
all over Asia, all of Asian
yeah,
countries. Like,
yeah.
yo,
Yeah,
you
he
know what I
knew what he
mean?
was doing. So it's not about the money, you know. It's it's for him, like you said, guys in that certain stratosphere that have made so much money in the NBA. You're 34 years old, you're 35 years old. Do I really want to go back and deal with this? Because I just don't want to be there. I can play ball, and somebody will pay me to play, but this is just a distraction. This is just it's a nuisance.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, we've gotten to the point in sports where these guys are making so much money that they can do that. And that's to
Mhm.
their credit. God bless them for arriving at that point in life. But for the fan who was like, you know what, I just wish Harden would have, we traded him for Ben Simmons, who was another disappointment. I just want to see James Harden, um, come back here and lead the league in assists and keep his mouth shut and put his head down and play for a championship, something we haven't had in this city in 40 years. But and I agree, but it's just it's funny how money changes the situation. Is to
Yeah.
quote Lauren Hill.
So, how do you think it's going to end? You think he gets traded ultimately?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think he will get traded. I think they will eventually say, you know, in the trade market, Daryl Moore is not going to get what he thinks is his value. Um, and it's from a monetary standpoint. But at the end of the day, he's if James Harden was 30, if James Harden was 29, but James Harden's what 34.
Mm-hmm.
So he's at that point where he's the cliff is definitely in sight. The cliff is definitely in sight for him. So I think they'll move him. I think they'll move him, and people will be that's the response will be that's all you can get for James Harden. But yeah, that is at this point that is what you can get for James Harden.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta let it go. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he gets traded too. But I think it could be a ugly beginning. I mean, I would be shocked. I mean, I wouldn't. I would be. I shouldn't say shocked if it wasn't. But at the same time, the way things have been trending now, it has been quiet the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
The way things have been trending has been like it could be must see TV. And with that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw like national media up in
Mm.
Colorado at training camp. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be. It could be a circus. Could be.
Yeah, there's a story waiting to happen.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt. No doubt. But all right, bro. Always enjoy talking to y'all. I want to thank y'all for listening. You know, and just remember, this is a podcast that is free and available. You can get it wherever you get your podcasts at, but you can also go to our YouTube channel and check out this podcast. But when you do that, the first thing you need to do is click on that Liberty Bell. When you click on that Liberty Bell, you become a new subscriber. On top of that, you get notifications when the next podcast comes out. But I want to make sure my man Mitch has a great day today. We're wishing you a blessed day, brother.
Thank you, brother. Same to you.
Yeah, and wishing all of y'all a blessed day and a happy Tuesday. And I'll be back tomorrow talking about another topic. But have a great day and peace to everyone.
Peace.